Hey folks, welcome to Backstage with Bekoz. I am Glynis Jones and I'm here with Sheebah Smith and we're managing partners of Bekoz Marketing, a collaborative that works with organizations to help them mobilize their mission, connect with their constituents, and most importantly, further their cause through marketing and communications efforts. So we're excited to be here for another episode of Backstage with Bekoz. And Sheebah, can you tell the folks what we do here? What happens backstage? What we do here?
Absolutely. So as you can see, we've gone way backstage. We're in our t-shirts. We have the nice surround going around just to get us relaxed because we're really taking back the curtain today. And really what Backstage with Bekoz is all about is just getting behind the scenes with us. So today we're taking you all the way behind the scenes. You're getting to see the nitty gritty. You're getting to see us as we kind of relax, as you'll see a little bit more today, and also learn about organizations that we work with and that we want to introduce to you to learn more about. So with that, Glynis, I'm excited to get started. Yeah.
Yes, we're excited for our guest, Tamisha Ponder. She is the owner of Sankofa Yoga and Wellness Center in Laurel, Maryland. Welcome, Tamisha. Welcome backstage. Welcome backstage. So we are so
backstage.
Yeah, because not everybody can get back here.
Right.
No, we are super excited to have you on. We want you to share with us a little bit about Sankofa and your offerings. And like she was saying, we have on our relaxed gear today because I think Tamisha might bless us with a little something at the end, so you have to stay tuned. But before we jump in, I wanted to just read a few sentences of Tamisha's bio. Because these few sentences I thought were just so timely right now. So Tamisha is an educator and community organizer. She has combined her expertise with yoga, mindfulness, and holistic health to promote self-care, coping strategies, and restoration to underrepresented populations. Tamisha says that as a studio owner, she creates spaces for people to heal. And I just thought that was just so timely to share right now. So that's why we're super excited to have Tamisha with us, just to tell us a little bit about what she does and how she works with the community. So Tamisha, tell us a little bit about Sankofa and yourself and just, all the good stuff. Share with us, please.
Okay, will do. So, Sankofa Yoga Wellness Center located in Laurel. I opened up the studio with my husband last July. We're coming up on a year. Of course, currently we're doing virtual classes, but we're at a physical location on Main Street in Laurel. I've been teaching for a little over 8 years, and I've been practicing for a little over a decade. And in the yogic space, I've been blessed with being in spaces and yoga spaces of people of color and being affirmed and welcomed. But whenever I traveled or did others or went to other spaces, I felt not only like an outsider, but I was treated like I was a beginner. And which I found very, very interesting. Even when I was teaching, people would ask, "Who's the teacher?" And I would say, "Oh, me." Okay. So
Oh, wow.
And so, mind you, I've been teaching for many years, and I'd always been mistaken for the newcomer or the student, even when I would go into a place to teach. And so, I never forget, and it's actually super timely on the reason why I wanted to open up a studio. Now, the studios, of course, that I've practiced under, where I've received training, are all Black owned, right? And so they were beautiful spaces, and so I wanted to create more of them in different parts of the county because, we can't service everybody in one space. There has to be more of this goodness. But I'll never forget, around the time of Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman's case, actually, I had went to yoga to decompress because he had just got, let off, of course, right? So Zimmerman. And I remember going into a yoga studio. It wasn't my all-Black studio. It was just one that was local. And everyone in there was frolicking around all day and just not having a care in the world. And I remember walking in that space. And so when we sat down to do our intention, it was like, today's a great day, right? And everyone was like, yeah, just saying, let's just all let it go. Let go of the homework. Let go of the cleaning the dishes. It was all these things that had nothing related. And I'm like, what world do you live in, right? So I remember that is not what's on my mind. I could care less about the dishes. I could care less about, that. And I remember feeling that space like, you all have no clue about the reason why I show up, the reason why I found this practice. I found yoga at a time, of course, in the bio that I'm a community organizer, and I literally was stressed out. When I say stressed out, I mean all of the above. And so yoga has always been my healing practice. So just merging them together, being an educator in diversity and racial justice, I knew that I wanted to share with others the practice that has helped me continue to live like a more balanced life. And I knew I wanted to create that space because there's not many of us who look like us in this yoga space that you see on TV or in a magazine, right? So I opened up Sankofa Yoga and Wellness Center. And Sankofa, me being a historian, is super important to me because it's knowing your history. And I'm like, if I'm going to open up a black studio, I want you to know that it's black by the name, okay? It's going to be called Sankofa Yoga. There's no doubt around it, right? There, you know, who owns it, right? So my husband and I, we've been working on it for some time. And then we opened up Sankofa Yoga and Wellness Center. And so, of course, I'll talk about the other offerings, but that is the inception, is creating a space that where just more spaces for folks to heal of all walks. So no matter if you identify as one identity or so, it's just a space where you can feel affirmed, not be judged. And I make it my mission for all the teachers too that we recognize what's happening out in the world before class, and we hold space for that, just to realize people are coming to us for a reason, and it's not always just the dishes, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's the outside elements, and if I can provide that space for everyone to come in and feel like they've been loved up on, that's exactly what I want to do.
That's so awesome. That's awesome. So you mentioned virtual classes, and Sheebah, I know we had a layout here, but I feel like we just need to flow with this right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned your virtual classes and just this idea of healing. So how did you all have to kind of pivot, if you will? How did you have to switch up things to ensure that you were still connecting with your customers, still connecting with your community, with the tribe? What did you all have to do to make sure that still happened?
Wow. Okay. So this happened overnight, literally. So let me say, around the week of like March 8th or so is when some of the schools in the area had started to close. And I knew around that week that there was something that was going on that we should probably just start keeping an eye out on. And for those who are unfamiliar with the yoga accrediting world, Yoga Alliance is the governing body of most registered yoga teachers, like you're in a directory in a sense. So we started noticing that some studios were starting to either make the decision or just be a little bit worried about whether or not they're going to stay open at the time, but we hadn't really made a decision yet. It hadn't gotten to Maryland in a space that things were starting to shut down. So we got an email from Yoga Alliance just encouraging all studios that we need to take this time and close. So this was on a Sunday night, and Yoga Alliance is the alliance for like international, right? It's not it's not just Maryland specific. And at that moment was like, well, this is really happening. We're really shutting this down. And so we made the decision that night that we were going to go virtual. I sent an email to all of our teachers and said that we were going to figure something out. I'll let you know in the morning, but we're shutting down the studio, and we're going to go virtual. So that night I stayed up, my husband and I, and we decided to actually do a Facebook route. That's the way that we've been live streaming our classes through Facebook. And then for Zoom, for those who do not have Facebook. I wanted a way where I can continuously communicate to my community, to our yoga community, to our members, where we can stay in contact, where they can contact me, they can Facebook me, things like that. Well, immediately most people went to Zoom, but we chose Facebook and kept it a private group to keep the community. And so like you can post things, you can ask questions, like you can have access to me pretty much at any time, because we just ask questions. So we went to the virtual classes, literally within like 12 hours we made that shift. Wow. It literally went from that day. We recorded from my iPad, this iPad that I'm on right now. We had one in the studio. I called up two of my former students where I used to teach, and I said, I need your help. I need you to help us record our teacher. So on the first day, we recorded simply from the iPad on Facebook. The first week, it was all Facebook. The second week is when we brought in the Zoom platform. But here's what we did. On day 2, we went and invested in a microphone. We invested in a sound mixer, and we were in there with a tech team in the back. It was 2 college students.
It was a whole production at that
I
point.
love it. I love it.
It was two college students in the back who knew how to do all that stuff, and they're like, "We got you." They put on a little headphone set, and they were running the sound and the and the recording from an iPad and a laptop, right? And we were just in the studio recording. So that's how quickly it went into that. We only lasted about 2 weeks in the studio before the stay-at-home order went in place, and we had to go home. so then it went from us having like state-of-the-art type of like sound and mixer in the studio to everyone just being in their home. And we had to quickly pivot again to creating a home studio, right? Like,
right.
what does everyone's homes look like to be out here recording?
And what's their Wi-Fi connection? That's
Wow, yeah.
Animals running around, like kids, neighbor, like lots of things. You know, it became, at first, it was like, well, so every week we had to pivot. Every 3 days was a pivot. And we just had to roll with it. I'm thankful that we had evening classes, so it allowed that day to really, really try to finesse and finagle ways to really get it done. But those were probably the most 3 stressful weeks of this business. Was that time. Yeah. Constant pivoting.
Yeah. So and you know, and what's the feedback that you've been getting on that? Or you know, folks are they're flowing with it, they're receiving it.
Yeah. I mean, so at first, initially, the response overall was great. We did lose a few folks who didn't feel like they wanted to do something virtual, and I understand that, you know. But I guess they won't realize how long this would be, right? They thought like, oh, it's gonna be like a week or 2. So some people actually ended up coming back after month 2. But the first 2 or 3 weeks, it was difficult because we had lost some members, we lost some viewership, just folks just couldn't connect, you know.
Right.
But I was so grateful and completely humbled by the folks who wanted to stick with us because we are, we're a small business. Like, this is how we have to continue business. We're not, it's not by choice. This is how we're doing it. And, but I completely honor the fact that some folks aren't down with the, virtual classes. They're not motivated. They're not, they're just not, maybe their space isn't, inclusive enough or just set up enough to do yoga. But, there was a barrier. There was a barrier for some time. And, we of course, all businesses, we had an immediate, cut at the root. Like, when we turned virtual, we lost some folks. And a lot of studios, we talked about it, we had a chat, we are, bleeding. We're hemorrhaging right now. How do we stop the hemorrhaging? But to focus on the great side, that there are so many folks who are supportive and understand how businesses and supporting not only businesses, small businesses, and Black businesses, that we won't be here if you'd like to open back up if no one supports us during this time.
Right. That's right.
And that's what I've been telling folks is even during this time, go support your favorite restaurants that you frequented because you want them to be open when we reopen. If no one goes, how are they going to sustain? And I just, it also gets into the how we discuss giving back as a community, how we discuss philanthropy as a community, how we discuss even just community, and understanding how business works is that we literally had people say, "Oh, I'll come back when you all, when you're open back up," and I'm like, "Okay, great, right?" But I'm like, if everybody,
if everybody do that, we're not opening back up.
But I will say though, I'm very, very fortunate and blessed in the partnership and co-owner of my husband. My husband works in finance. So he's in corporate finance. So he was very persistent and insistent on having a savings, our business savings, enough for at least 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Already in advance. So even though we do, of course you don't want to use all of your savings during this time, but the point is that to still have it. And we attended a business, Essence virtual business seminar a few weeks ago. And it was for small businesses. And what we learned was that small businesses, specifically Black businesses, only have about 2 weeks of money in reserve in case of emergencies. And that's a concern, is it how do we share enough, information on capital, on, ingenuity, the fact that businesses can still stay afloat, because the truth is a lot of businesses close or, that's happening. And a couple of yoga studios closed as well. But we talk about access to information. There were lots of grants that was going out, but then again, if you don't know the language in the grant applications, that really disqualifies you. If you didn't have your books in order, there's so many things. And so luckily enough to have, you know, my husband who's the business part of this space is that like to really have everything in order and have our books and all of the set that you know your finances going into this drought, that you know exactly what your losses are.
Right.
But
Right.
but the reality is a lot of our businesses don't have that, you know. And so just combining the business savviness along with like what I brought to the table in the space was, of course, continuing community and thinking about how we're going to make this virtual. Both of them had to work hand in hand. But yeah, I'm rapping. I'm sorry. I'm a
It was all good information. Yeah.
It's good. We feel it all of this.
We're listening. So, Glynis, I'm just going to jump in.
Yep.
In regards to the community, you touched a little bit about that, and it's so important right now to be out in your community and to keep that constant sense of communication and have your community support you. Can you talk a little bit about how you and Sankofa give back to the community, or what your basis is there, and what you suggest for businesses, and how that's helped you?
Awesome. So since we've opened, consistently every Friday we have free meditation for the community, and that's always been since we opened. And we continued it virtually too. And amazing the fact is that we could have stopped it, right? We could have stopped our free services when we went completely like off the grid. But we're so rooted in community and community service is that we knew that if more than anything at this time we needed it more, right?
Right.
But the reality is that you're still like you're losing money. Like we pay the teacher to teach a free class because we know that their time is valuable, and how dare I ask you to teach something for free? You know, use your time for free, and then they, you know, I'm like, no, I still value your presence here, but the community will receive it. So we give back from our pockets financially by hosting free classes and paying our teachers.
Right.
Wow.
That's very
And so what we always talk about too is that so one of the things that we reference, so we have a history of community advocacy in our family. My husband's grandmother was commissioner of Ward 8, Anacostia, DC, and she's phenomenal. She passed a few years ago, but she's a phenomenal woman. She had the key to the city, all these things,
Wow.
and so she was powerful in community work with homeless, with kids. She had, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Anacostia, but it's called the Southeast House. So it's called Children of Mind Center. And they opened up the space, fed kids after school every single day, and provided them with homework, and provided their families with meals. And we also fed the homeless, but also prepped them for job security and interviews, and prepping them and cutting their hair for interviews. And we did that on Saturdays. And so that's the root of that, what was already, with our partnership. But for me, as a community organizer and community, I have a nonprofit too, but I've been rooted in community work since I was 7. Okay.
Wow.
It's a part of your foundation.
Wait a minute, Tamisha, what were you doing at 7?
I was protesting at 7. Mostly for education in PG County schools. So I was at the superintendent's office at 7 and 8 years old and everything too, for education quality, for like schools, heat, books, all that types of stuff, all the things. So I started my career in advocacy and education all the way up until college. When I was in college, I was student government president, like all these, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. And so I've always I spent one of the college advocacy when we were working with Barack Obama when I was in college the year before he ran. So a lot of the things I've been doing have been grassroots work. And then with the nonprofit that I have for ages 11 to 17 for youth activists, that then kind of got me on that spiral movement to work on the PhD. And my dissertation is on undergraduate women during Black Lives Matter. So when I fuse them together is that when I talk to the women, and I talk to a lot of organizers, or I talk to anyone involved in community work, what is your self-care practice? It's none, right? It's none. It's like, I don't know, right? But what's beautiful about it is that I can give them examples like, no is a self-care to say no. Like, that's just...
Amen. Can you say that again? Say that for the people in the back.
What's your self-care practice? Saying no. That's all you got to say.
That is a self-care practice. You have to sit on your hands sometimes, because otherwise you will completely overwhelm yourself. And I don't think that sometimes when you're giving like that and so community oriented and you're an activist and you want to be involved, how hard it is sometimes to say no. So I agree with you 100%.
I had to learn the hard way. And that's the reason why I got into yoga, is because physiologically my body did not respond well to anxiety, grief, all these things, from headaches to tension headaches. So I told you all that I started community organizing at 7. I didn't mention that I was also seeing a chiropractor at age 7.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's how bad stress formed in my body at age 7.
Wow.
From migraines to, I had swelling in my neck, my lymph nodes would swell, and I got checked out for back issues. It's like, but it was all afflictions of like just emotions and pain, which I later found out what that was. But like the constant headaches, like why is a 7-year-old stressed? What you got to be stressed about it?
You try to take on the weight of the world as a woman, Tamisha, that's why.
So that continued all throughout my educational career, and it wasn't until undergrad, it was after undergrad when I made that connection, and I'm like, this is stress. Like, there's a way I can fix this. And so it was after my master's program when I had really dealt into yoga. And what I love most about yoga is that it was the principles, the ethical principles, the one that specifically got me, even though I was intrigued by the physical practice, like, of course, the physical stress relievers, but it was the principles like letting go, or not harming yourself, or not stealing. And so all these types of things, what was not stealing to me was not the tangible, like don't steal money, but don't steal from yourself, don't steal your time, don't, like, that types of thing. Those connected to me, and applying those ethical principles of the yamas and niyamas and yoga is really what decreased that stress, because I realized that it was self-induced in some spaces because I was saying yes too much. And I was doing too much. And so when I was able to connect the two and say, okay, what do I have control of? What can I do? What can I do less of? Then I started seeing that immediate change. And I'm like, I have to share this with people because I have lived this life and I had no intention on going back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Wow. So Tamisha, one more question, because I know we want to get to the yoga part, or the breathing exercise that we have coming up, and I'm really excited about it. But with so much going on, and you've talked about so many pertinent things, even the activism with recent events that have occurred, and being out, and people being stressed out and wanting to get involved and help out and reaching out to the community, all of that. How are you getting your word out to those people that may need your services? What kind of marketing tactics are you using? Because we at Bekoz really focus on being an activist for organizations. That's the platform that we base our business on. And so we're always excited to hear about different marketing strategies or techniques that you might be utilizing to do the same. So is there anything that you can share with us in that realm?
So, social media has been where everyone has been on the past couple of months, like even more than before. The way that I've been able to continue to promote Sankofa, even prior to the current state that we're in terms of the uprising of sorts, has been, what is it called? When we do a type of, like the engagement social media wise. So if I ask a question and ask for their response, community engagement, that type of way has been very impactful, because if I'm asking them, how are you doing? Or I ask a question that says, how do you relieve stress, right? Share us a way. Or what have you let go of today? Or like simple reminders like, hey, drop your shoulders, right? Like these little things. So as you're scrolling on your timeline, right, you're like, oh snap, I need to drop my shoulders. Like I'm up here, right?
I'm sitting here like this. Once you said that, my shoulders went down. Like, oh.
Y'all put them down too out there. Go put them down.
I was like this the whole time.
So those simple things too. It's like as much as you're scrolling, right? Those reminders go through, and it's like, oh, okay. Or like it says, take a moment to breathe, and then it's like, oh, I did not breathe, and that's what I wanted to share with you all this afternoon is the breathing exercise too, because we do it so often, but we don't realize that we probably do it with less intensity and not full. We just breathe shallow. And the power of the breath is so important. I know that breathing has. I know how to get rid of my headaches now through breathing. And when I tell you, when I learned how to do that, I said, oh, where has this been all my life, right?
Wow.
But that's the thing too, is that I know that like our breath, like we understand, well, I guess if you start to learn that your breath holds your grief, your breath holds your trauma, your lungs hold grief. And if you're more aware of where you hold stress or grief in your body, for women, we hold it in our hips. Our reproductive organs are all down there and stuff. So into a certain spaces, you hold it in your your hips specifically, your emotions, right? But your grief and your trauma held in your heart. And so a lot of that is held on our chest. For a lot of communities of color, communities of identities, a lot of weight is on our shoulders. And that's literally and figuratively. It's on our shoulders too. So that's where our tension headaches reside, like right up in there, because we're holding so much of the weight of the world there. So in these spaces where it comes to breathing and yoga, what that has done is help release the tension in those spaces and get those knots out that you're holding. Because when you clench your body, like think about when you're scared, right? If you're in a constant state of shock, you're holding your breath, you're holding your shoulders, right? It's like you just don't even realize that you're doing it so much, but giving yourself that permission to release it and let it go. That's what I hope to share with folks, because you don't know it until you know that you're doing it, right? Like no one's gonna like keep tapping you like, hey, Glynis, let your shoulders down, right? But that's the thing, is that our body manifests what we're feeling, and the sooner we're able to make those connections and identify that our body, our mind, and our breath is all connected, then we're able to really like check in, like, okay, I have a headache. What could this headache be from? Let's really think about this, right? And and can I reverse it? Is it food induced, right? Okay, or is it allergy induced, or is it stress induced, or could it just be like just the factors? It's just something to just start checking with yourself and being aware. And when you know that inkling that your body is not responding the way you want, that's when you take that break. But so many of us, we are just so used to pushing through it, because we're like, we got to keep going, right? And we do more damage to ourselves by doing that. And then we get to that overexhaustion, and we're no good to nobody at that point.
That's right. That's right.
Ourselves.
I just had a conversation with somebody in regards to that, and the first thing they said to me was, well, I got a headache, but I wanted to push through it. That's exactly what their words were. So I'll be very excited to share this with them.
I know it's hard to believe. I know it's hard to stomach, because we as a people, like we as just like we're always been told that you got to persevere, you got to push through it, right? But we're also more aware though, and we're like, but look where that's getting us, right? Like I'm happy that now that we're more accepting to modalities like therapy and wellness and holistic wellness, but now we have the language to identify what it is. That these practices that's been passed down from us from family, these hurtful practices that we thought were healing but are actually the opposite. If mama told us to suck it up, right? If dad said don't talk to nobody about it, and now we're seeing like, oh my God, why am I just so heavy? That's what that is. But we're just now getting like to put our finger on it and know that it's a way to do both. We can continue to still be persistent. We can still hold that pride. We can still do that. But that moment we take to ourselves is the most important. Because as everyone always knows, you can't pour from an empty cup. But I think we don't replenish that cup until we're at our last like drop.
That's so
we can't do that no more.
That's cool. Wait a minute. Who is Tamisha talking to out there? Somebody out there. I know this ain't just for me. I know somebody's out there that is feeling this. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that's exciting. Well, thank you for sharing about the social media, because that's definitely something that needs to be implemented, especially now with so many people being at home or just trying to adapt to now businesses starting to reopen and, put new information out. Here are our hours. We might be sitting outside in restaurants, or we might be doing virtual classes until we enter phase 2 of the reopening and different things like that. So definitely, thank you for sharing that. I think that'll help a lot of businesses out there.
Of course, just to know that they care about, like, yes, we do care about their safety in a space of like for COVID-19 safety, but then as we get into wellness, like remind some folks to breathe. Like, hey, did you take a minute to yourself today? Like that type of thing, because all of these factors that are affecting us, for many of us are, either suffering from a loss, either of reality or loss of life, loss of togetherness. Everyone's mourning in some type of way,
right?
Even if you're mourning one thing, or maybe you're mourning the death of from police brutality. Somebody is mourning the loss of their job. Somebody is mourning not being able to see their family anymore because of the the elements. But that humanistic part that we're missing is that reminder, or asking people, what if, like, you ask questions like, have you eaten today? Like, that is all. Like, instead of asking us how are you doing, and sometimes it can become so common of a question, you simply probably, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
and you keep walking.
And you, right. Yeah.
But if you ask them different questions like, have you eaten today? Like, it's like, oh, you care about me? Like, it really goes into like, oh, have I eaten? And then what have I done to my body? You know, have you moved your body today? Have you taken a walk today? You know, have you seen the sun or something like that? Like those types of questions.
Right.
A different type of check-in as opposed to how are you doing?
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. I like that. So, so much. I'm so full already. So much. So, Tamisha is gracious enough to share with us a breathing exercise, get some wellness going on here. Before we get into that, because I don't know if that's going to take us out, if we're going to be laid out, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. But please tell everyone where they can find Sankofa, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, please.
Okay, thank you for that, because I would have probably been taken out too, because exercise for me gets me sleepy too. Okay. So on Instagram, we are Sankofa Yoga, SANKOFA YOGA. Okay. Facebook, we are Sankofa Yoga Center. So / facebook.com/Sankofa Yoga Center. Our website is www.sankofayogacenter.com. Okay. If you're interested in taking virtual classes, it's once you get to that page, well, our / is virtual right after that. But once you get to the website, it'll give you a prompt to go to virtual. So we're available on Facebook, Instagram, and and our website. The website is pretty comprehensive. If you're interested in even donating or just staying up to date, our virtual link lets you know like what are our COVID updates, what are our policies, things like that, and you can just if you even want to host a private session or even we do virtual yoga parties for your friends, like that type of thing.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. All that can be on sankofayogacenter.com / virtual.
Awesome. Support your businesses, people. Support.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So we're handing it over to you. We're ready.
So for the folks who are joining us, please grab a tissue, a Kleenex, whatever you need, because this breathing exercise is called Nadi Shodhana breathing. And so essentially what's happening is that you are moving the breath around a different way where the oxygen is circulating opposite from both nostrils. So what the breath is doing is is sending oxygen and massaging the brain and clearing out all the gunk up here, and it calms the nervous system. So when you breathe, typically you're breathing in through your mouth, out through your nose, or some people breathe sometimes out through their mouth the whole time. Don't realize the nose. So that's another class, okay? Now for this breathing specifically, what you're doing is you're going to take your most dominant hand and use your thumb, your ring finger, and your pinky finger. So yeah, right. The ring finger and the pinky finger. So whichever one's your dominant hand. So I'm going to show you what to do first, and then after we do these breathing, I'm going to add the meditative words into it. But first, I want to relax. So this breathing exercise is perfect for migraines, headaches, or just a really stressful time. Even great for anxiety if you need a quick 2 minutes to reset. So here's what you do. You are going to use your thumb to close the right nostril, and you're going to inhale in through the left. After you bring that inhale in, you use the pinky and the ring to close out the left and release the breath out through the right. And you breathe in through the right, close it with the thumb, lift the pinky up, and exhale it out through the left. So you're continuously going back and forth. Now, first I want to make sure that you are comfortable and rooted. Now that you understand what to do, you're going to do it 10 cycles, so it's going to be 20 times. You can already tell like how snotty it got just now, right? I told you, right? So, as you're seated, just making sure you have that dominant hand. Let's first pay attention to your shoulders. So drop your shoulders and release the tongue from the roof of your mouth. Unclench the jaw. Let's take a moment to note your in-breath, normal breath, breathing in through the nose, and exhaling out through your mouth. Now slowly place your dominant hand in front of the face. You're going to bring the right thumb or right hand, whichever your dominant hand is, placing on the right nostril. Inhale in through the left Close the left. Exhale out through the right. Inhale through the right. Close the right. Exhale out through the left. Inhale through the left. Close the left. Release. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in again through the right. Close it. Suck in as much air as you can. Release it out through the left. Now at this moment, I want you to continue at your own pace, doing this 10 times, total of 20, on your own count. As you're inhaling, you're bringing as much air as you can in. Letting that breath redirect and go around the brain. Knowing that your tissue is there to support. Calming the nervous system, continue to relax these shoulders. Breathing in as much as you can, sipping in air. Constricting one nasal passage and breathing out through the other. Just a few more to go, and once you finish, just place your hands gently at your knees so I know that we're ready to begin. Begin to relax the shoulders, drawing them down the back. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Blink the eyes shut and unclench the jaw. Relax the space in between the eyebrows. And take a sweet breath in through the nose as you breathe out through your mouth. I'm going to walk you through a breathing meditation. Every breath is full of life. Every breath has a purpose, in and out. So continuing with your normal breath, relaxing the shoulders, releasing the tongue. As you take a breath in, notice the in-breath. And as you breathe out, release what no longer serves you. Breathing in, I feel gratitude. And breathing out, I give thanks. Breathing in, I feel joyful. And breathing out, I celebrate. Breathing in, I know compassion. And breathing out, I am compassion. Breathing in, I feel loved. And breathing out, I offer love. Take a deep cleansing breath in through the nose, sipping in as much air as you can. Sipping in air starting at the belly, letting it rise to the lungs, letting it rise to the chest, and slowly exhale out through your mouth, massaging the heart on the way down. Breathing in, I am still. And breathing out, I am at peace. Slowly take a cleansing breath in through the nose, filling the air in the lungs, allowing the belly to expand like a balloon. Exhale, breathe out through the mouth as the belly deflates, navel goes to the spine. Let's take 3 final deep breaths in. Breathing in all the things you desire, what your heart calls for. And as you exhale, release what no longer serves you out through your mouth. We'll take a breath in for courage. And a breath out for fear. Let's take a breath in for all the things that make you feel your best, that allow you to be in your full self, your whole self in authenticity. And on that exhale, the biggest breath out, you are releasing the feeling of not enoughness. So slowly coming back to your breath. Continue to drop the shoulders down. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Notice your natural breath flowing in, and notice the natural breath flowing out. Take a breath in from the belly. Sip in air to the lungs. Sip in air to the chest. Exhale out through the mouth, from the chest, the lungs, and the belly. Slowly begin to blink the eyes open and bring the hands to the heart center to seal this practice. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be whole. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
Ooh, welcome.
I could feel like the stress melting through my back. I don't know if that was just me.
That's
So thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you feel unstressed, relaxed, and thank you for coming behind the scenes or backstage with Bekoz. I am Sheebah Smith, accompanied by Glynis Jones with Bekoz Marketing, Tamisha, and Sankofa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find Bekoz Marketing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube at Bekoz. And you can also find out more about our services at bekozmarketing.com.